"Who is he the Queen?" inquired. The princess smiled and said, "The man I married." Best HFY Stories, the twin sons of Solara. V dipped low on the horizon, painting the dusty plains in shades of gold and orange. Small hovercraft kicked up clouds of sand as they moved between distant settlements, and the towns along the main ridge of the frontier glimmered faintly, like stars resting on the ground. It was a quiet evening, but even the quiet had a rhythm to it. The hum of machinery, the whir of wind turbines, and the distant chatter of traders closing their day's business. On the edge of the main settlement, a strange figure appeared. He stepped off a hovering steam train, a machine that looked old-fashioned yet gleamed with unusual craftsmanship. The townsfolk paused, staring with curiosity. He wore a long coat, dusty from travel, and carried a small satchel. His boots were covered in the golden sand, yet he walked with a steady, confident pace. This was Elias Colt, a man whose presence seemed to pull the attention of everyone around him. Elias looked around, taking in the small town. Wooden buildings with metal panels lined the main street. Neon signs blinked softly in the twilight, advertising everything from synth milk to star spices. The air smelled faintly of oil and roasted nuts from the street vendors. Despite the bustling settlement, there was a strange calm about the man. He moved with purpose but without urgency, observing everything with keen, intelligent eyes. A small child ran past, chasing a mechanical bird that flapped its metal wings. The bird chirped a pleasant melody, and Elias smiled softly. He knelt and extended a hand, letting the child show him the toy. "It's clever," he said. "Did you make it yourself?" The child's eyes widened. "Yes, my papa helped." Elias nodded. "Then your papa is very clever. Keep making things. One day you might surprise the world." The child beamed and ran off, proud of the praise. Across the street, a group of workers struggled to move a robotic livestock cart. It had tipped slightly, its small drones clattering to the ground. They scratched their heads, unsure how to fix it without damaging the delicate equipment. Elias noticed them and walked over. "Need a hand?" he asked. The workers hesitated. Strangers rarely offered help freely in frontier towns. But there was something in Elias's calm voice that made them step aside. Within moments he examined the cart, adjusted a few circuits, and gently repositioned the drones. The cart hummed perfectly again. "Thank you," one of the workers exclaimed. "Where did you learn to do that?" Elias shrugged lightly. "I travel a lot." "You learn a few tricks along the way." He smiled politely and moved on, leaving a small trail of admiration behind him. Meanwhile, in the palace, perched on a nearby ridge, Princess Lyra watched the scene unfold through a large crystal window. She was young, but wise beyond her years, her eyes sharp and bright. The strange man had arrived that morning, but she had been too busy with her studies to notice him until now. "Who is he?" a voice asked behind her. It was her mother, Queen Selene, her tone calm but tinged with suspicion. Lyra smiled, not turning immediately. "The man I married." The queen's brow furrowed. "You hardly know him." Lyra finally turned, her smile soft but firm. "Perhaps not yet in the way you think. But he has qualities that matter more than appearances." Queen Selene did not answer immediately. Instead, she watched the bustling town below. Something about Elias unsettled her, though she could not name it. He moved through the town with ease, yet it was not arrogance. It was confidence and intelligence combined with kindness. Later that evening, Elias wandered toward the palace. He had been invited by Princess Lyra's emissaries, intrigued by his quick solutions to problems that had stumped local engineers for months. The palace itself was an architectural wonder, a mix of traditional Solara V spires and high-tech crystalline panels that reflected the sunset in dazzling colors. Lyra met him at the entrance, her hair catching the twin sun's light. "Welcome," she said simply, extending her hand. Elias bowed lightly and accepted the handshake. "It is an honor," he replied, his voice calm and deep. "Your town is remarkable. Quiet, yet alive." They walked through the gardens, where mechanical birds perched on metallic branches and streams flowed with soft, luminescent water. Lyra spoke about the challenges of the frontier. Resources were scarce, and communication between settlements was slow. She explained how the towns often relied on ingenuity and cooperation to survive. Elias listened carefully, nodding thoughtfully. "I have traveled to many places," he said. "Every town, every world has its own rhythm. Sometimes the solution is in machines, sometimes in people. Often, it is a balance of both." Lyra looked at him closely, her smile widening. "Balance, yes. That is what our colony lacks in many ways." They continued to walk until they reached the edge of the palace terrace, overlooking the glowing plains. The twin suns hung low, one orange, one red, casting long shadows. "Do you like it here?" Lyra asked. Elias gazed at the plains for a long moment. "It has potential," he said, "and a good heart beneath it. That is rare." Lyra laughed softly. "You speak as though you know everyone already." "Perhaps I do," Elias replied. "Or perhaps I just know what to look for." Back in the town, the evening market began to wind down. Lanterns flickered softly, casting warm light on the dusty streets. People talked excitedly about the man who had arrived, sharing stories of his cleverness and calm presence. Children whispered about the strange gadgets he carried, and the older townsfolk nodded with respect. Elias, meanwhile, explored quietly, speaking to anyone willing to share their thoughts. He helped a baker adjust her oven to work better with solar crystals and advised a young teacher on new ways to teach children to read star maps. Everywhere he went, he left a small trace of improvement and a sense of hope. By nightfall, he returned to the palace garden where Lyra was waiting. The stars had begun to shimmer, tiny points of light above the twin suns' fading glow. "You have done much in one day," Lyra observed. "The townsfolk already speak of you as someone extraordinary." Elias shook his head. "Extraordinary is not the word. I simply see what is missing and try to help. The real work is theirs, the courage to change, the patience to improve." Lyra smiled, touched by his humility. "You understand more than most visitors ever will." Just then, Queen Selene appeared behind them, her presence quiet but firm. She had watched Elias from afar all evening, analyzing his words and actions. "Who are you, truly?" she asked, her tone gentle but probing. "You move through my colony as though you belong, but I do not know your past, your intentions." Elias met her gaze without hesitation. "I am simply a traveler," he said calmly. "I help where I can. I wish no harm, only to understand and assist." The queen studied him for a long moment. There was something in his eyes, a combination of wisdom, kindness, and quiet strength, that made her pause. Though she remained cautious, she found herself unable to dismiss him entirely. Lyra stepped forward, taking her mother's hand. "He is honest," she said softly, "and more capable than anyone could imagine. He has chosen to be here among us." "That is enough for me." Queen Selene looked at her daughter, then at Elias, and finally back at the plains bathed in starlight. Something shifted in her expression, a mixture of curiosity and reluctant respect. She did not yet fully trust the stranger, but she sensed that he was more than he seemed. As night fell on Solara, Viella stood beside Lyra in the palace garden. The twin suns had set, and the stars sparkled above. The air was cool, filled with the hum of distant machinery and the soft chirping of mechanical birds. "This is only the beginning," Elias said quietly, looking at the stars. "There is much to learn and much to do." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with anticipation. "Then let us begin," she replied. And so, on the frontier planet of Solara V, a stranger had arrived, one whose intelligence, kindness, and ingenuity would soon change the colony forever. The townsfolk did not yet know it. The queen remained wary, and the stars above twinkled as if hinting at adventures yet to come. The morning sun rose over Solara V, casting pale gold light across the palace gardens. Princess Lyra was already awake, standing near a crystal fountain that shimmered as water trickled over its edges. Birds with metallic wings sang soft melodies, their tiny gears glinting in the sunlight. She waited patiently, knowing that Elias Colt would soon join her. He arrived without announcement, walking along the garden path with quiet confidence. His long coat brushed against the flowers, leaving only the faintest disturbance of petals. He carried a small satchel, and his eyes were already scanning the garden as if reading every detail. "Good morning," Lyra greeted him. "Good morning," Elias replied with a gentle smile. "The gardens are beautiful. You've chosen well." Lyra laughed softly. "It's not about me. It's about keeping balance, nature and technology together, something the townsfolk sometimes forget." Elias nodded thoughtfully. "Balance, yes. That is always the challenge. Too much of one and the other suffers. Too much of neither, and the system collapses." They walked along the path toward the palace balcony, which overlooked a frontier town. Hovercraft moved like fireflies across the plains, and distant settlements glimmered under the twin suns' early light. "I want you to meet the engineers," Lyra said. "They are working on new transport designs for the outer settlements. Many ideas have failed, but perhaps your perspective can help." Elias tilted his head slightly, considering. "I do not promise a solution, but I will try to help." The engineers were gathered in a large workshop, a wide space filled with half-built machines, hover carts, and tools that glowed with soft energy. They looked up as Elias entered, unsure of what to expect. Some whispered, others watched with cautious curiosity. Lyra introduced him politely. "This is Elias Colt. He comes from far beyond our system, and he may offer ideas we've not yet considered." Elias nodded and approached the machines. He moved carefully, observing each invention, asking gentle questions. "Why did you design it this way?" he asked a young engineer, pointing to a hover cart that seemed unstable. "Well," the engineer replied hesitantly, "we thought this shape would reduce friction with the sand, but it sometimes tilts too easily." "I see. What if the weight is distributed differently?" "A small adjustment here and here." He tapped on 2 panels, explaining how a minor repositioning could improve stability. Within minutes, the engineers were testing his idea, and the hovercart moved smoothly for the first time. The workshop buzzed with excitement. Engineers shared their designs, and Elias offered suggestions without criticism. He encouraged them to think creatively, not just follow rules. By mid-afternoon, the entire workshop felt lighter, full of hope and new energy. Lyra watched quietly, impressed by his patience and kindness. "You make them believe in themselves," she whispered. Elias glanced at her, a faint smile on his face. "People always have the ability to solve problems. Sometimes they just need someone to guide them, not tell them what to do." After the workshop, they walked through the town, talking to merchants, teachers, and families. Elias listened carefully to each story, offering small improvements or advice. He suggested new ways to purify water using solar energy, designed a simple method to help children read star maps, and even showed a baker a way to automate the heating of ovens. Everywhere he went, he left a sense of possibility. By evening, they returned to the palace. The twin suns were setting, one orange, one pink, and the sky seemed to ripple with colors like melted glass. Lyra and Elias stood on the balcony overlooking the plains. "You have done so much in one day," Lyra said, her eyes shining. "The townsfolk already speak of you with admiration." Elias shook his head. "I have only pointed out possibilities. They are the ones who will carry the work forward." "My part is small," Lyra smiled. "Even a small part can change everything. You inspire people. That is no small thing." As they spoke, Queen Selene entered the balcony. Her robes shimmered in the evening light, and her expression was careful, thoughtful. "Elias," she said quietly, "I have been watching you. You move through our colony with grace. But I am curious, why do you choose to help us? You are not from here. You could be anywhere, yet you remain." Elias met her gaze calmly. "I travel because I want to see the world, to understand it. I help where I can, because I believe in improving life for others. I seek no reward, only learning and growth." The queen studied him, her eyes narrowing slightly. She sensed honesty, yet also mystery. "Very well. But know that actions alone do not define a person. The mind, the heart, and the past all matter." Lyra placed a gentle hand on her mother's arm. "Mother, he is trustworthy. I have seen it in the way he treats the townsfolk and how he listens and learns. That is enough for me." Queen Selene did not respond immediately. Instead, she watched Elias and Lyra stand together, a quiet tension between curiosity and caution filling the air. Later that night, Lyra and Elias walked through the palace gardens under a sky full of stars. The twin suns had set, leaving a gentle glow across the plains. "Tell me," Lyra asked softly, "about the worlds you have visited. You said you travel a lot. What are they like?" Elias looked up, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "Each world is different. Some are bright and full of life, some quiet and mysterious. People everywhere face the same problems: how to live with others, how to make life better, how to find balance. I have learned that every place, no matter how small or remote, holds wisdom if you know where to look." Lyra listened intently, fascinated by his calm wisdom. "And do you never grow tired of traveling?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "But there is always something new to see, someone new to learn from. Life is too short to stay in one place. And yet," he paused, glancing at Lyra, "some places are worth staying for. Some people make a place feel like home." Lyra felt her heart lift slightly at his words. There was warmth in his voice, a gentle sincerity that reached beyond the palace walls and into the plains below. The next morning, Lyra introduced Elias to the children of the palace school. They were eager and curious, full of questions about the stars and distant worlds. Elias knelt to speak with them, showing them how to read constellations, like maps, explaining how planets move, and even teaching them how to design simple machines from scrap materials. The children were delighted, laughing and asking countless questions. Some were shy at first, but Elias's patience and kindness soon drew them out. By the end of the day, they had created small models of planets and hovercraft, proudly showing them to Lyra and their teachers. "You have a gift with them," Lyra said quietly as they walked back to the palace. "You inspire not just the adults, but even the children. Children are honest. They ask what they want to know and try what they can imagine. If you guide them gently, they will surprise you." Evening fell again over Solara V, and the palace was quiet. Lyra and Elias stood by the balcony, looking out over the settlement. The twin suns had set, leaving a soft glow of twilight across the plains. "Do you ever worry," Lyra asked, "that the people may not accept change? That they may resist your ideas?" Elias considered her question carefully. "Change is always difficult. People fear what they do not understand. But if you show them respect, listen to them, and allow them to participate, they will find the courage to adapt. Change is not forced. It is chosen." Lyra nodded, feeling a deep admiration for the man beside her. He was unlike anyone she had ever known, and yet he seemed to belong here, on this frontier planet, helping others without seeking reward or recognition. As the stars twinkled above, Elias and Lyra made plans for the next day. More workshops, more visits to the outer settlements, more opportunities to share ideas and build connections. The colony of Solara V had already begun to change, and it was only the beginning. In the quiet of the night, Queen Selene watched from her private chamber. She remained cautious, but she could not ignore the truth. Elias Colt had a gift, and more importantly, he had earned the respect and trust of her daughter. The seeds of curiosity and admiration had been planted, and she knew that the future of the colony might very well depend on him. And so, life on Solara V continued. The townsfolk were beginning to notice subtle changes: better transport, brighter streets, easier ways to communicate, and most importantly, a renewed sense of hope. A stranger had arrived, a traveler from far away, and he was teaching them lessons that would last for generations. Princess Lyra and Elias Colt stood together on the palace balcony, looking out over the twin suns setting beyond the plains. They were ready for the challenges ahead, ready to guide the colony into a future of knowledge, cooperation, and possibility. For Solara V, the journey had only just begun. The morning on Solara V was clear, the twin suns shining brightly over the golden plains. The town below was awake and bustling with activity. Hovercraft moved along the dusty streets, children played with mechanical birds, and merchants arranged colorful goods outside their shops. Yet inside the palace, a quiet tension hung in the air. Queen Selene had called Princess Lyra and Elias Colt to the Grand Council room. The polished floor reflected the sunlight streaming through crystal windows, and the walls displayed murals of past rulers and historic events of the colony. The room was silent as the queen began to speak, her voice calm but firm. "Princess Lyra, Elias Colt," she began, "you both know why we are here. A neighboring colony, Ravia, has threatened to claim our solar crystal reserves. These crystals are vital for energy and the survival of our outer settlements. We must negotiate carefully. If we fail, the consequences could affect every town on Solara V." Elias nodded. "What is expected of me?" The queen studied him for a moment, her eyes sharp. "I want you to prove your wisdom and diplomacy. The future of this colony will, in part, depend on your decisions. But know this, our rivals are clever, and they will not give ground easily." Lyra looked at Elias with encouragement. "You can do this. You understand people, not just machines. That is exactly what we need." Elias took a deep breath. "Then I will do my best." That afternoon, Elias and Lyra traveled to Ravia in a sleek hovercraft. The neighboring colony was unlike Solara V. Its streets were cleaner and its buildings taller, but its people seemed rigid, moving with efficiency rather than joy. The Council of Ravia awaited them in a large chamber, walls lined with shimmering metal panels and strange glowing instruments. The Ravia negotiators were quick to assert themselves. "The crystals are ours by right," one said sharply. "Your claims are weak. We cannot allow interference in our plans." Elias remained calm. He smiled politely, addressing the council. "I understand your position. You want security for your people, but the crystals sustain both of our colonies. There is a solution where all benefit without conflict or harm." The council members exchanged skeptical glances. "And what solution do you propose?" another asked. Elias reached into his satchel and produced a small glowing device. "This device can monitor crystal usage and distribute energy efficiently. By sharing the data, we can ensure that both colonies receive the energy needed, without waste or danger." He demonstrated how the device worked, projecting a holographic map of the outer settlements. Each area lit up as energy flowed from the crystals, showing how a cooperative plan would benefit both colonies. The Ravia negotiators leaned in, their interest piqued. "But what guarantee do we have?" one asked cautiously.
Elias smiled.
"The system itself is the guarantee. It cannot be cheated. It is fair, transparent, and easy to manage, and if adjustments are needed, we can work together to improve it." The room was silent for a moment. Then slowly the Ravia Council began asking questions. Elias answered patiently, explaining every detail, addressing every concern. He did not argue, and he did not raise his voice. Instead, he spoke with clarity and kindness, showing respect for their knowledge and perspective. Princess Lyra watched quietly from the side, impressed by Elias's calm composure. She realized that he was not only clever, but he understood people. He knew how to gain trust without forcing it, and how to solve problems without creating enemies. Hours passed, and finally the Ravia Council reached a decision. "We accept this plan," one of them said reluctantly. "It is unusual, but it seems fair." Elias nodded, smiling. "Thank you. Together we can make this work." The delegation returned to Solara V, and the Queen awaited them in the palace hall. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes were sharp, assessing Elias carefully. "You succeeded," she said at last. "But tell me, why did you not insist on your way?" "Why compromise?" Elias looked at her, calm and steady. "Because success is not about proving oneself. It is about creating solutions that benefit everyone. Insisting on my way might have given Solara V an advantage, but it would have harmed trust and cooperation. True wisdom is in choosing the path that strengthens the future, not just the present." Queen Celine's gaze softened slightly. She had watched many people come and go in her time as ruler, but Elias was different. He was clever, yes, but also kind and patient. He did not seek glory, only understanding and progress. Lyra stepped forward. "Mother, he is not just clever. He inspires others to do their best. That is the man I trust." The queen studied her daughter for a long moment, then nodded slowly. She had doubts, as any ruler should, but she could not deny the truth. Elias Colt had proven himself worthy, not through force or cunning, but through wisdom and character. The next day, Elias visited the outer settlements with Princess Lyra. They observed schools, farms, and workshops, speaking with townsfolk and solving small problems along the way. A young inventor showed Elias a solar-powered water pump that had failed. Elias studied it carefully, adjusting a few components and explaining a simple improvement. The inventor's eyes lit up with understanding, and soon the pump worked perfectly. "Your mind sees possibilities that I cannot," the inventor said in awe. Elias smiled gently. "Everyone has potential. Sometimes we just need a little guidance to see it." They continued their tour, visiting families, teaching children, and helping farmers and engineers improve their work. Everywhere Elias went, he left a sense of hope and possibility. People began to talk about him, not as a stranger, but as someone who cared for their lives and their future. That evening, back in the palace, Elias and Lyra sat on the balcony, watching the twin suns set over the plains. The sky was painted in shades of pink and gold, and the soft hum of the settlement below created a comforting rhythm. "Do you ever get tired of teaching and helping everyone?" Lyra asked softly. Elias shook his head. "No. Each person I help teaches me something as well. Life is a journey of learning. Every challenge, every question, every small success matters. That is why I travel, to see, to learn, and to share." Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of calm she had never known before. "You have changed so much here already. The people look to the future with hope, thanks to you."
Elias looked thoughtful.
"Hope is not given, it is built. And it begins with small steps, small lessons, and trust. People will rise to the challenge if they are guided gently, not forced." Suddenly, a messenger arrived from the outer settlements, carrying news of a problem. A water distribution system in one of the farms had failed, threatening crops and livestock. Elias and Lyra quickly prepared to visit, taking the hovercraft across the plains. At the farm, they found the system damaged by a minor mechanical fault. Elias knelt and studied it carefully, explaining each step to the farmhands. Together they fixed the system, and water flowed smoothly once again. The farmhands cheered, grateful for the help and for the calm guidance Elias provided. Princess Lyra watched him, realizing how much the man she trusted truly cared for others. It was not just skill that made him remarkable. It was his patience, understanding, and humility. As night fell over Solara V, the palace glowed softly in the light of lanterns and stars. Queen Selene observed from her chambers, still cautious but increasingly impressed. Elias had proven his wisdom in diplomacy, his patience with people, and his ability to inspire without force. He was not just clever, he was a leader in the making. That night, Princess Lyra and Elias walked once more in the palace gardens. The air was cool, filled with the faint scent of flowers and the soft hum of mechanical birds. "Tomorrow," Elias said quietly, "we will continue to help the colonies and towns. There is much to learn and many opportunities to make life better." Lyra nodded, feeling a sense of peace, "And we will face them together." Elias smiled softly, glancing at the stars above. "Together," he agreed. The twin suns had set, leaving only the soft glow of distant stars. Solara V was changing, slowly but surely. A stranger from far away had arrived, not with force, but with wisdom, patience, and understanding. The queen had begun to trust him, the people were beginning to admire him, and Princess Lyra had found in him a partner, not just in life, but in shaping the future. And so, under the gentle light of the stars, the next chapter of Solara V's story was beginning, a story of learning, cooperation, and hope. The morning on Solara V dawned with a calm brightness. The twin suns rose slowly over the golden plains, casting long shadows of the distant settlements and glinting off the palace's crystal panels. It was a day of celebration. The people of the colony had gathered for the Festival of Stars, an annual event that marked unity, innovation, and hope. This year, however, the festival felt different. There was excitement in the air, a sense that change was coming. Change brought not by rulers alone, but by a man who had arrived quietly and made the colony better through wisdom and kindness. Princess Lyra moved through the palace halls, adjusting her ceremonial sash and greeting the townsfolk who had arrived early. She noticed the children from the palace school laughing together, showing their star maps to visiting families. Engineers carried models of new machines, eager to share their designs. Farmers and merchants had set up colorful stalls filled with goods powered by the innovations Elias had helped implement. And then, amidst the preparations, Elias Colt arrived. He moved through the crowd calmly, observing the festival with quiet interest. Though many people whispered his name, he paid them little mind. Instead, he watched, listening and smiling at the small successes of the people around him. Lyra approached him, her face glowing with excitement. "It is wonderful to see everyone so happy," she said. "They owe so much to your guidance, Elias. The colony has begun to thrive because of you." Elias shook his head, humility in every gesture. "I have not done this alone. Every person here contributed. I simply helped them see what was possible. The true change comes from them, not me." Lyra's eyes softened. "Still, you are the reason they could see it. Without you, this festival might not have been possible. Today is about celebration and recognition of the good we can achieve together." As the festival began, the streets were filled with laughter, music, and the hum of small machines creating light displays. Holographic stars floated above the plazas, turning and twinkling in time with soft music. Children ran with mechanical birds, flying them high as their parents watched. Artisans displayed their creations, each one a mixture of tradition and innovation. Everywhere Elias looked, there was energy, hope, and joy. The Queen, Selene, watched from the balcony above, her expression calm but thoughtful. She had followed Elias's work for weeks now, observing him as he taught, guided, and helped the townsfolk. She had doubted him at first, as any ruler would, but she could not deny the truth. He was wise, patient, and kind, a rare combination. And perhaps, she realized, he had also earned the trust and love of her daughter. At the center of the festival, a ceremonial stage had been built. Lyra stepped forward, holding a small crystal orb that glowed faintly in her hand. The townsfolk and visiting officials quieted, waiting for her words. "My people," Lyra began, her voice clear and strong, "we gathered today to celebrate unity, learning, and progress. This festival marks not just our achievements, but the spirit that drives us to improve every day. And today, I wish to recognize someone special." She turned to Elias. He stepped forward, his usual calm smile in place, though he seemed slightly surprised by the attention. "This man," Lyra continued, "arrived in our colony quietly, without expectation or demand. He has helped our people, guided our children, and inspired us all with his wisdom, patience, and kindness. He has taught us that true progress comes from cooperation, understanding, and respect for one another. Today I stand before you to say," she paused, looking directly at the Queen, who stood behind the crowd, her eyes studying her daughter carefully, "This is the man I married." A gentle murmur spread through the crowd. Some whispered in astonishment, others smiled warmly, but all could see the sincerity in Lyra's eyes. Elias met her gaze and gave a small, humble nod. Queen Selene took a slow breath. For a long moment, she said nothing, observing the way Elias and Lyra looked at each other, the way the colony seemed to recognize the change he had brought. Then, slowly, a smile appeared on her face. She stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "Lyra is wise," the queen said quietly, yet clearly for all to hear, "and her choice is made with the heart as well as the mind. Elias Colt, you have earned our respect, and you have shown the true meaning of leadership through patience and guidance. Know that the Crown recognizes your contributions." The crowd erupted in applause. Children cheered, engineers clapped, and even the neighboring colonies represented at the festival smiled in approval. Elias bowed lightly, acknowledging the recognition, but his attention remained on Lyra. Lyra reached for his hand, holding it gently. "We have more to do," she said, her voice full of hope, "but I know we can face it together." Elias's calm smile deepened. "Together," he agreed. After the ceremony, they walked through the festival, visiting the various stalls and workshops. Farmers showed them the new water systems, engineers demonstrated improved hover carts, and children proudly displayed star maps they had drawn under Elias's guidance. Everywhere they went, people expressed gratitude, but Elias always redirected the praise to the community. "You all did this," he would say. "I only helped guide the way. You have the talent, the ideas, and the courage. Celebrate yourselves." The queen followed them quietly, observing not only Elias, but the way Lyra and he interacted. She could see the respect and understanding between them, and a sense of relief filled her. Perhaps her daughter had found not only a partner, but someone who would help guide the colony wisely into the future. As evening fell, the sky over Solara violet and pink. Lanterns floated above the streets, illuminating the festival with a soft, magical light. Lyra and Elias found a quiet spot on a terrace overlooking the plains. The twin suns had set, leaving the stars to twinkle brightly. "I never imagined a stranger could change so much in such a short time," Lyra said softly. "And yet, you have." Elias looked at the horizon. "Change is always possible when people are willing to learn and grow. You gave me the opportunity to help, and together we made small steps towards something greater. That is all anyone can do." Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of peace she had never known before. "You are more than a visitor here, Elias. You are part of this colony, part of our lives, and part of my heart." Elias turned to her, his expression calm but filled with warmth. "And you have made this place feel like home for me, Lyra. Not the palace, not the land, but the people, and you." As they stood together, the queen approached quietly, her steps light on the terrace. She placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "You have chosen wisely, my daughter," she said softly. "Elias Colt is not only clever and kind, but he inspires others to do their best. I see now why you trust him and why the colony's begun to flourish. I give you my blessing." Lyra felt her heart lift with gratitude. She turned to Elias, who gave her a gentle nod, his usual calm presence comforting and steady. Together, the three of them watched the stars over the plains, feeling the quiet pulse of life that had begun to grow stronger with each passing day. The Festival of Stars continued into the night, full of laughter, music, and light. People danced in the streets, shared meals, and celebrated the unity that Elias had helped foster. Engineers demonstrated new machines, children performed small plays about the stars and planets, and families shared stories of hope and gratitude. For Elias and Lyra, the night was peaceful and full of promise. They walked through the festival hand in hand, greeting the townsfolk, smiling at the children, and listening to stories of small improvements in every settlement. Everywhere they went, people felt encouraged, hopeful, and proud of what they had accomplished. Finally, they returned to the palace terrace. The festival lights reflected in their eyes, and the soft hum of mechanical birds drifted in the air. "This is only the beginning," Elias said quietly. "There are still challenges ahead, but I know we can face them together." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with determination. "Yes. Together we can help this colony grow, learn, and thrive, and one day perhaps even more colonies will follow the same path." Elias nodded. "And when that time comes, we will be ready, not just with ideas, but with hope and guidance for others." The twin suns would rise again over Solara V, as they always did, but the colony was no longer the same. It had been touched by the wisdom, patience, and kindness of a stranger who had arrived quietly, never demanding, yet changing lives forever, and Princess Lyra, standing beside the man she had married, knew that together they could face anything. Not with force, not with fear, but with understanding, cooperation, and hope. The stars twinkled above, the lanterns glowed below, and Solara V slept peacefully that night, ready for a future built on wisdom, trust, and the gentle guidance of a man who had shown them what was possible.